Welcome back. Now it's time to work on placing an order. And placing an order is going to it's going to be a long process because you might think that the process is just storing user information in the database, and that's not correct. There are many ways in order to accomplish placing an order. And let me break down the process into few steps so that you understand. So now the first step is that we need to open up the place order.php. Let me here type the steps that we want. So the first step is that we need to get user info, because of course in order to send the products to the user, we need their email, we need their city, we need their phone number, we need their address in order to send the package and products to them. The second step is that we need to store here get user info and store it in database. The second step is that we need to store order information, order info. And to store the order information in database, we first need to get products from cart. So the second step is to get products from cart. So let me here type 1. I'm going to say 1. The first step is to get user info and store it in database. The second step is to get products from cart, from the session actually. Let me add here not. I'm going to say from session so that you don't forget that the information is in the session. The third step is that we want to store the order in information in database. So after we get the products from the session, we need to take these products and store them in the database and issue a new order. So we need to create a new order in the orders table, and we need to store each individual product in the order items. So for example, let me go back to the home page and explain the process. For example, if I want to buy a pair of shoes and a bag, then each one of these must be stored in the order items. But both of these items will have one single order because they belong to the same person who wants to buy these two. So these two items will have the same order ID, but they will be stored in the order items so that we know the items that the user wants to buy. So here the third step is to store order info in the database. First I need to say here issue new order and store order info in database. And finally store each single item in order items database. And the last step is to remove everything from cart, and actually this is the fifth step, and the sixth step is to tell the user or inform user that whether everything is fine or there is a problem. There is a problem. And if there is a problem, we need to tell them. If everything is fine, we need to remind them we need to take them to the payment page. So this is the last step. Let's start working on these steps. So let's start on the first step. So the first step is to get user info and store it in the database. So in order to get the user info, we need to head on over to the checkout and get these fields from the form. So here we have the names, name, email, phone, city, address, and place order. So here, if the user clicks on place order, we need to get the name. I'm going to say name is equal to post name, and then we need to get the email, and then we need to get the phone, and then we need to get the phone and city and address. So we have city and address. City, post, city. And lastly, we need to get the address. So the address is going to be equal to post address. That's it. Now we want to insert these into the database, these values in the database. And to do this, we need to import the connection. Remember the connection class, the connection file, because the connection will allow us to connect to the database. So at the top here, I'm going to say include, and then since we are in the same file, the place order.php is in the same file as the connection. So we just need to say here connection.php. And before I forget, we also need to say session start, because I'm going to be using the session later. I don't want to forget, because this is usually forgotten by so many developers. So after we have these, we need to remember in the connection we have, again, let me remind you that we have a variable called con. So we need to use this con. Here I'm going to say con, and then prepare, and then we need to pass the statement. So the statement is insert into what? We need to insert into the orders. We need to insert into the orders table. So we need to insert into the orders table. Here we need to insert into the orders table. I'm going to say here insert into orders. And what do we want to insert? We want to insert the order cost, the status, the ID, the user, all of these things, except for the ID. The order ID will be given by the database automatically. So we need to start by the order cost. So the order cost, I'm going to say here, order underscore cost, is the total amount, and I'm going to get this shortly. The second thing that we need to insert is the order status. The order status is always going to be on hold. So I'm going to say order underscore status. The third thing is the user ID. So we need to get the user ID. I'm going to say user underscore ID. And then we need the phone, user phone. And then user phone, and then city. User city, and then user address and order date. User address, and then order date. And then in a new line, I'm gonna here in a new line, I'm gonna add a new line, and then I'm gonna say values. So what are the values? The values are, first, for the order cost, we need to get the cost from the session. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say here order cost, and to get the order cost from the session, we just need to say session, and then total. This is going to get the total from the session. And then the order status, I'm going to say order underscore status. The order status is whether the order has been paid or not. If the order has been paid, then we need to say paid. But we will allow users to place orders without paying, and then after the order has been placed, I'm going to allow users to pay. So I'm going to say here the initial value is always going to be on hold. So on hold means that the order has been placed but has not been paid. And then user ID. The user ID, I'm going to get the user ID later when I allow users to log in and register. But for now, the user ID is always going to be 1 just for the sake of testing. The user phone number, we have the phone number from the form, we have the name, and we have everything else. Lastly, we need the order date. So we need to say order underscore date. So the order date is going to be a date time. Let's use the date time now. Or we can use the date function. We can use date ymd. Y is for the year, month, day, and then hour, minutes, seconds, which is this function. Now we can pass these into the values. So the first thing is the order ID, the order cost. So I'm going to say here order cost. However, this is not a good practice. We need to pass question marks. So we need to pass how many question marks? We need to pass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7 inputs. So I'm going to say here question mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if you don't understand why I'm doing this, this is for the sake of protection. And you can take my course about PHP protection and you will understand the reason behind this. Because this is going to protect the form and it's going to protect your system from hackers. And again, if you want to take that course, I'd highly recommend taking that course about PHP security best practices if you are interested in understanding and improving your PHP security code and applying best practices. Now we need to call a function here. We need to store this in a variable called stmt. So stmt is going to be equal to connection prepare, and then stmt, we need to call a function called bind param. And the parameters that I'm going to bind are the cost. So the cost is the cost here. The cost is integer I, and then the order status is going to be s string. User ID is I, is integer. Phone number is I. User city is s. User address is s. User date is order date is s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then comma, and then we need to pass the parameters in order. So the first parameter is the order cost. The second is the order. The second is the order status. The third is the user ID. The fourth is the phone number, is the user phone, which is phone. Here I just said phone. And then after the phone we have the city, and after the city we have the address and the date. Address and the date, order date. However, order date. However, I forgot the email, so the email is not here, so we need to insert the email, or we can just rely on the phone number. So I think I'm gonna rely on the phone number. You can rely on the phone number, or you can use the user ID to get the phone number from the user's database. So there is no problem. I'm not gonna use the email. So the email, I'm just gonna get the email and leave it here. There is no need to use the email because we have the phone number and we have the user ID where we can use to get more information about the user later if we want to. Next, I'm going to say stmt and then execute. That's it. We need to execute this query. And lastly, we need to get the order ID. So this is going to insert this order into the database, and the database in return is going to issue a new order ID. Therefore, we need to get this order ID in order to use it later in this script. So we need to get the user ID from here.